Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Abi to Dr. Abdullah Saidi and my fellow classmates. So today our group 12 will be presenting on our topic COVID-19 impacts towards the public transportation, and we are focusing on one public transportation, which is bus. So without further ado, I would like to pass to the first presenter. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to our beloved lecturer Dr. Abdullah Saidi and dear classmate. My name is Muhammad Shafiq bin Muhammad Zaid, and I am the first presenter for our group today. Today, our group will presenting our topic about impact of COVID-19 to public bus services in Malaysia. Before we go through to the topic, I will introduce about the background of bus transportation in Malaysia. First for all, in Malaysia, bus transportation was introduced by the Ministry of Transportation on 23rd September 1975. Based on New Straits Times data, almost 60% of Malaysians were using public transportation. There are various types of cloud transport available in Malaysia, which is train, aeroplane, taxi, and other else. This is because the cost of bus is more cheaper than other public transportation.
I will be presenting the background of the topic. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced the government and authorities around the world to impose restrictions on transport and mobility at an unprecedented scale and magnitude. As of autumn 2020, some regions and countries have started or planning to lighten the restriction on mobility, but many areas are still suffering severely from the pandemic. The concern over COVID-19 has causes public outrage to be in crowded places and causes the people to drive themselves or use alternative services like e-hailing to obtain essential goods and services or travel purposes. The decline of public bus ridership is likely due to both authority restrictions and traveler on choice. Public transport stations and vehicles are recognized as high-risk environment for transmission of COVID-19 due to limited physical space available, the abundance of surfaces that help spread the virus, and the limited testing of crew and passengers who use the system. Problem statement. While existing work have highlighted some dimension of the pandemic impact on public transport, but the effect on public bus are still largely unknown. This include the new norms and regulation using public bus, public stigma to travel using public bus during the pandemic, financial impacts toward the bus operators and drivers, and strategy of future plan by the bus operator to overcome the impact of the pandemic.
Public transport is seen a very important critical component in the available options. The public transport agencies and the public need to work together to promote public transport as a safe alternative to travel, especially in the current situation. The public transport operator were asked by the Transport Ministry to boost up their COVID-19 precautions measure all the time starting on 2nd October. Similarly, providing information to the public such as providing peak hours information allows users to make early planning, thus avoiding congestion in public vehicle and stations. According to Bernama, Chairman of Prasarana Malaysia Berhad, Datuk Sitajudin stated that rapid bus service use navigations applications like Movit, Google Maps and My Rapid Bus kiosk to help users avoid overcrowding. This can maintain physical imprisonment and increase the level of safety of the user from being infected with the virus while using public transport.
Alright, so next is the financial impact towards the bus operators and their survival plan or future strategy. So since the coronavirus pandemic started, there has been many problems and issues arose due to it, including public transportation like bus. Many countries had imposed a full lockdown or a partial lockdown, and due to that, the demand for passenger transport has been adversely hit, but the high demand couldn't be fulfilled since there had been a slowdown in public transportation, especially in bus industry because of the spread of the coronavirus across the country like Malaysia itself. There had been an actual case in Malaysia where a bus operator lost income because of the MCO and he had mortgaged almost all of his properties to gain money for his family. Some operators had also started doing part-time jobs to gain money when they were in a difficult situation owing to a complete halt in passenger transportation. One of the most chosen part-time jobs that had been done is food delivery drivers. Most of them preferred this to be a part-time job because it is a perfect alternative job for those with driving experience and license, and food deliveries rate had been increasing since the outbreak started. This is because most people find it easier to use food delivery services since a contactless delivery had also been implemented after the coronavirus outbreak. Hence, the coronavirus outbreak had impacted bus operators in many aspects, especially financial, money-wise.
Financial impacts towards bus drivers. Discussions at this point will discuss the financial impact on school bus drivers as well as express buses due to the COVID-19 outbreak. For now, bus drivers across the country have to look for other jobs, and some are running small businesses in their respective villages to survive. According to Zulkifli Omar, 67, a bus driver, he said a story about his experience after losing his source of income due to the school closure. He is the one who working on fresh coconut milk in his hometown to support his family. He really hopes that government assistance such as Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat BPR next year can reduce the burden he faces in supporting his family. According to Muhammad Kaharuddin Saleh, the president of the Peninsula Malay Express Bus Operators Association, Pembawa, express bus service operations that were halted during the Movement Control Order (MCO) left bus drivers paralyzed due to the loss of sources of income to repay loans and other debts. About 99% of bus operators or companies owe money to banks and other financing companies. Therefore, the financial burden towards school bus drivers and also express bus drivers is very much felt by them, and assistance from the government and the non-government parties should be highly expected because it can reduce the financial crisis they are experiencing.
One of the reasons why many people are afraid to take the bus during a pandemic is because they are afraid of getting the virus. For example, the person has accidentally brought the virus to home, and mostly like the whole family will be infected with the COVID-19. COVID-19 is very dangerous for the elderly or people with chronic disease. Many have died because of COVID-19. For example, case on December 17, 2020, a COVID case occurred in the bus. This case occurred in Cebu, Sarawak, when 4 Indonesian women were found positive for COVID-19, where they wanted to return to their home country using the bus. The bus passenger who involved at the time were also requested to check up to see if they are infected or not. Traveling by public transport carries some risk of infection. The level of risk to be infected is highest. Lastly, wearing a mask on the mouth and nose. This measure has the potential to reduce the spread of the pandemic. If the spread to get on the bus, so always use a mask and bring hand sanitizer. Thank you. As a conclusion, COVID-19 has brought several impactful effects towards the public transportation industry, including bus. Our solution is that the government and the Ministry of Transport has to be responsible. They have to meet the bus operators and bus drivers in Malaysia to know their problems and to draft the future strategic plan on how to handle this situation. We believe that the government has enough power to urge financial institutions in Malaysia to give moratorium and to extend the loan repayments for both bus operators and bus drivers in order to help them in this current hard situation of the country. That is the solution that our group thinks that is the best to save the public transportation industry in Malaysia. With that, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.